Okay, I thought I'd post an update on this 1974 Porsche 914 I'm doing a restoration on. Uh, I've also been deep into a 82 924 turbo rebuild project. That's on pause while I'm waiting for some parts. So all about the CIS system on that car. So let's look at this 74 914 and I'll give you an update where I'm at on that. This is a car that I got about a year ago and was like an aborted project car. I did a lot of work on this longitudinal, replaced all this metal going back up in here. The quarter panel was already cut out, so that was helpful. And he had all this sheet metal from Restoration Design, so that was part of the package. I've done more work inside the engine bay on the below the hellhole battery. I did a patch under that heater vent. I replaced all the lower inner firewall. Did a patch in the corner for the upper firewall. Another patch over here. So firewall's in pretty good shape. All this stuff will get seam sealer, so these little gaps and everything that I couldn't fill in, I'll just load them up with seam sealer. So the latest thing I did was back here on the front bulkhead. This was rusted out, so I put a patch in here and another patch along the tunnel because that had quite a few perforations. And then the very last thing I've done was similar to the passenger side, a patch down here. Now, I've got it all pretty much trimmed out for the floor pans. I'm salvaging the support bracket for the pedal assembly because it's in good shape. I mean, it's still got original paint on it. The original paint on this was canary yellow, I think. So this side of the tunnel's in good shape, and longitudinal along the bottom, driver's side, good shape, and same thing, passenger side. So it's pretty much ready for the pans, except I went ahead and pulled out the cables because the speedo cable, it's toast. The clutch cable's kind of marginal, and throttle cable looked pretty good. I'll probably just replace all three cables. And also I pulled out all the fuel lines because those things are just a disaster waiting to happen. They're the metal ends with plastic or nylon. I mean, yeah, you don't want to leave that in these 914s. I already had one instance on the 75 when I was welding back here on the firewall and the fuel line caught on fire. So anyway, where those came out is in fairly decent shape. I'll just clean that up and rust treat it, and it should be good. Another note, while I was cutting all this stuff out, the engine shelf and everything, I inadvertently cut through the brake line that joins on up top here that goes around. So I can actually get that from P&B Performance. They sell those hard brake lines. So that's an update. And what I'm thinking about doing today, I mean, I need to order the replacement fuel lines. It's so much easier to do that without the pan in. So I could get that done before I start putting these pans in. Another thing I was thinking about doing, I want to go ahead and pull these bumpers and lower fascia off just to evaluate what's underneath there. I thought this bumper was fiberglass. I think it's actually the original bumper that's been painted over. It doesn't fit very well right now. It's probably been collapsed or whatever. The fascia, the lower fascia, yeah, this car's been painted red with like everything over the spray nozzles and everything. So, I mean, the paint's not bad. The body's fairly straight. That's the good news. So I don't know, but I'm just curious if that bumper was really rusty or whatever. And then on the back side, more of the same. This bumper's been painted over. So just want to kind of find out if those are the original chrome bumpers. I don't think they're aftermarket. And see what my options are. I'll take off that Porsche plate. I have to look at the trunk yet. I think the trunk's in fairly good shape. So anyway, a couple of evaluation things I can do today. All right, the lower valance fascia, whatever it is, got that off, and oh yeah, we've been hiding a little corrosion along this front bulkhead. I mean, I've seen this kind of stuff before. It's a trap for moisture. So that's going to need some pretty extensive patching. The bumper is fiberglass. And it appears to be attached with some brackets, missing a bolt there. See the bracket right inside of there. That's actually a good attachment for that bumper. So I'm kind of pleased about that. Yeah, fiberglass, it's not bad. And okay, let me get that bumper off, and we'll see what we got under there. So I'm pretty sure that's a GT Racing fiberglass bumper. And whoever installed it actually did a pretty good job on just installing with the brackets and everything. I don't know that it's lined up as good as it should be. I think the hood doesn't close properly, but looking at this bulkhead, there's some body filler there. Obviously, you got a crack in the bulkhead. I guess that's just from rust. I'm trying to figure out if this car was in a collision. More rust here. And this is a common spot for rust. That's where the original compression shocks go for the original bumper mount in those holes. So, I mean, it's not anything super surprising. Also, what's odd is there's some sheet metal screws along this bottom. That should all be spot welds. So, it makes me wonder if this whole front bulkhead wasn't changed out at some point. I mean, it's got the original color, but I don't remember there being sheet metal screws in that area. So I think, and these rubber plugs have been painted over, which I may just kind of leave that the way it is. I mean, you know, full restoration or just try to get this thing back on the road. That's two different ways to look at it. I mean, like I said, the body on it's not bad. There's a couple little dimples down on the passenger door, but much better than most of them I get. All right, so I went ahead and pulled the headlight assemblies out of the buckets. There's some surface corrosion in there. I mean, the bucket itself looks pretty good. However, I'm seeing more and more evidence of perhaps a collision or something, like this strip tray's been all bent back into shape. So I'm almost beginning to wonder if this whole front bulkhead wasn't changed out at some point with a donor part that wasn't very good, because there's signs excuse me, more body filler in here. So there may be a lot of rust all through here. I did look at the restoration design site. They actually have this whole bulkhead. Call it a cross member. And that would mean I'd have to take it loose on this seam, which has spot welds, if I remember right. Unless it's been changed out, they could have done something else. See, like on this side, you've got Bondo body filler in there. But yeah, that's another thing that makes me wonder is with those screws on that bottom lip. If because that's not OE, I guarantee you that. So I don't know. I haven't decided whether I'm going to replace that whole bulkhead or not. At the very least, it needs a long patch all the way across the bottom. And also on the restoration design site, the later cars only have two rubber plugs. They have one here and one on the other side. Oddly, Porsche left these spots on the early cars. That's actually cut out, and there's more rubber plugs in there. But for some reason, they stopped doing that on the later cars, 75 and 76. So anyway, that's where I'm at on this. Oh yeah, I hadn't really looked at this since I got this thing, but when you close the hood, if I can get it to close, it doesn't go all the way down on this side. Now that could be an adjustment on the hinge. I don't know. I mean, looking across the hood, it does look like it's bowed. So maybe at some point when it was off, it got tweaked. I don't know. And I looked at GT Racing. They actually have a replacement fiberglass hood that you can delete the buckets. If I was going to take this to a racing car, which I don't know, guys. That would be so easy and a lot of fun. Done it before. Just start slapping on fiberglass. So let's strip the rear end and see what's underneath there. So that is a original metal bumper. The trim doesn't really match it. It doesn't conform to the shape of the bumper. Good news is they painted the top of it, so I don't even know, except for those holes, why you need the trim. But Or maybe I go to a fiberglass bumper. So, but corrosion isn't super bad. That's good. And then the pan in here, of course, it's got the usual perforations. So, no surprises there. So, at least I know the rear bulkhead is in fairly decent shape as far as I can tell. So I decided to go ahead and start mounting this rear pan, floor pan, because when I'm running the cables, these ends, this is the most difficult part right in here, which is covered by your front pan. So the rest of it back in here is pretty easy to deal with. So I was trying to keep moving forward here. So what I've done, I used my jack to lift the pan up, and then I aligned it in the back here on the firewall, and then I just used a couple of vice grips to hold it in place. And now I've got 4 sheet metal screws holding it here, and that way I could get rid of the jack. And now I got to mark it for rosette welds, all the spot welds. There's going to be a whole series of them down these edges. So I'll drill out the pan itself. I'll do spot welds all along here and down this side. Now the ones on the tunnel, I'll probably come from up top, and I can use the screws or the jack to press it. Same thing with the firewall. I'll drill them from up top and then weld down to the pan and use the jack or screws to pull that together. So typically I start with the outer edges first, and then press it in and start welding down the tunnel and the firewall. So on the pan, I drilled them out to 1/4 inch on about 2-inch centers all the way around the edges. I got weld-through primer on there. Also, I put weld-through primer where I'm going to join the tunnel onto it. And actually need to get some more right in here because that's where the inner firewall joins. So I need to shoot that real quick. And then on the tunnel, I went down a little bit to 7/32 on the drill holes, just because there's less material to join on to drill through. And same thing about 2-inch centers. So let me shoot a little bit more primer on that floor plan, and then we're ready to start putting this together. All right, I got all the spot welds done along the bottom of this rear pan. I'm gonna have to tighten this up. Also note, there's a little offset from the original firewall to the Restoration Design pan. So I'm going to go along here with a cutoff wheel and trim that up, and then do some seam welds along here to tighten that up. I'm fearful of leaving that lip on there because when you go to put the engine in, it gets pretty tight right here against the firewall with the fan assembly and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to finish up on the bottom side and then get up in the driver's compartment and start doing all those rosette welds in there. Okay, bottom side pretty much done except for some primer. Did a series of little seam welds along here to tighten that up. Next, I'll move up into the driver's compartment. Start doing rosette welds in there. All right, top side welding done. The driver's side turned out really good. The passenger side was a little different. The pan in that far corner didn't fit as well. In fact, I had to kind of bend the lip of that inner firewall down to it. And I don't know if the pan was just deeper. I didn't really want to start bending on the pan. We'll find out more about that when I put the cross members in, because, you know, they should go back to factory. And I may have to end up bending the pan up. I don't know. It just wasn't quite as good as fit. I mean, ultimately, as long as it's structural and I can cover up any remaining holes with seam sealer, that's all that really matters. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I think next will be to get those control cables in, and also the fuel lines. I got to get all that in the tunnel before I put that front pan on, because it'll be so much more easier. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time.